I see the people are joining. Okay, I would start. It's a very dense session, so I would like to welcome to all of you for joining this session. It's about social urban and peri-urban agriculture. I remind you also the main title of the event, and it's how to support commercial urban farming. And so in this session, we will focus specifically on elements which link social elements with more economic and commercial dimension of social agriculture in urban and peri-urban areas. As I was saying, the session is very dense. We have 4 cities that will present their case study, their initiative. They differing among themselves, but they provide a pretty wide overview from a political down to an economic and more of a commercial dimension. And then we will have another 2 speakers that will contribute with their own experience from other Mediterranean areas. So I would give the floor to Christine Oriol. Christine?
Yes, I'm here, I'm online.
Yeah, I see you. You can share your screen, your PowerPoint. I briefly introduce Christine. Christine is a food policy officer of the metropolitan area of Grenoble, and she is coordinating a network of rural and urban partners involved in the food project, Food Trails. It is an H2020 project funded by the European Union. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Can you see where's the presentation? Yes.
Yes, very well.
Okay. So indeed, I'm working at Grenoble-Alpes Métropole. So I'm not representing the city of Grenoble, but really the metropolitan area, which is a bit different because we cover 49 municipalities. So I would like first to present a bit the context in which we are working. So the metropolitan area covers about 500,000 inhabitants, and we are surrounded by mountain ranges, 3 different mountain ranges, which means that we are quite constrained in terms of available agricultural land. But still there is about 11,000 hectares of land that is specifically for agriculture. So the policies that have been in place in the metropolitan area over the last 5 to 7 years, I would say, have different directions. First, we are working on preserving the land in the peri-urban areas. That's the first thing to do. So to do this, we have acquired land. So we bought land to be able to secure also the methods of production, which mean that we are able to contract with farmers on the basis that they are working organically. So that was the first step, buying land and having specific contract with farmers. But there is also some activities where we are actually building specific farms on this land to make sure that there isn't a farming activity. Then on the very urban areas, there are different policies in place. We have funds to support the development of collective gardens. So gardens and honey production. So small grants, but still that are able to energize, I would say, the fabric of gardens in the area. So we spend about 100,000 euros over the last 5 years. And we have already some kind of circularity in place because the metropolitan area is gathering all the organic waste to make them to produce gas through methanization. And recently, we have seen the start of some individual initiatives aiming at producing really commercial farming in the urban, in the very urban area of the metropolitan area. So for this, we have been able to support them financially, but also in terms of facilitating their activity in the specific neighborhood where they are working. So this has been the policy in place over the last 3-4 years, I would say. And now we are working also on somehow anticipating the needs and supporting more in a more institutionalized way the development of commercial urban farming. So we are moving slowly from supporting initiatives and people coming to us with entrepreneurial ideas and deciding to really have a strategy on how to develop urban farming in the metropolitan area. So for this, we are launching a study that would help us to identify the available land, or also not only the land, but the roofs, etc., that will be able to support commercial farming. So we are moving from a really ad hoc policy to a more institutional urban farming strategy. So that was very short, but it was to present the evolution of the agricultural policy towards a more formalized urban farming policy.
Thank you, Christine. I think it was very interesting, and I think the impact of the pictures, it's like saying many words. So I really appreciate also the pictures that you included in the presentation, and also the historical development, and what happened in the past couple of years, and what are your expectations in the future. So I think this can provide a rather comprehensive picture of the project. Now we can go on with the second presentation. So the second presenter will be the Inti Bertocchi. Hi, Inti. He is from Bologna. And you can start sharing your presentation. In the meantime, I can introduce herself. Inti Bertocchi is the scientific coordinator of social innovation projects within the new citizenship and district area of the municipality of Bologna. And he has a specific expertise in the field of social inclusion of migrants and refugees and community building. And as for Christine, he will provide a view and an update on how the city is also supporting commercial urban farming and how the commercial dimension fits within the social initiatives. Thanks.
Thank you, Antonella. Welcome, and thank you for the invitation. And I'm going to show you a very brief experience in Bologna. It's called the Salus Space. In this experience, the UPA is a part of a wider ecosystem where there are many social and economic activities. The original project starts 5 years ago. It was financed by the UIA program, Urban Innovative Actions. And as you can see from this picture, there are many economic activities that are taking place in the same area. And the urban agriculture is a part of this ecosystem. There are 3 types of gardens, the educational, recreational, and the productive garden in the backyard. And we started this experience during the pandemic. And this idea, the main idea was to create a kind of eco-village in the urban area where there is a community well-being as the cross-cutting idea. The collaborative governance, which is at the base of this experience, involves directly the inhabitants. There is a social mix of different families, Italian households, young couples, and families with children, but also some asylum seekers and refugees. And the urban agriculture activity started last year. So during the pandemic, it was very important because it was the only possibility to stay together in an open space. So many citizens and also inhabitants took part to this activity, and it was a place where to grow vegetables and relationships. But this is also part of the economic, let's say, plan, because every single activity has to bring a contribution to the sustainability of the whole project. So we started to develop also some economic strategies. To develop an economic enterprise, first of all, we need, the first step is to train the people. So we started this collaboration with the university and to train especially asylum seekers in the reception centers. This is an example of one training team. And it was very interesting because many refugees have backgrounds, cultural backgrounds in the rural field, in the agricultural field. So they could bring also their own experience. And Salus Space, which is nowadays open, is also a hub where many things happen. And especially there is every week a garden, a market for farmers. So the products are sold in this market, but there is also emporium where many products are sold. And there is a laboratory for the food processing. So the main idea is to create a place where all activities can collaborate and create synergies. And we collaborate with stakeholders and with farmers. So it's a place for collaboration between public and private actors. We started with a small area, 1,000 square meters. You can see on the left part of the image. And we are now working to scaling up this experience with another project which is funded by the REACT EU program. And we are also collaborating with the university within another European project, Horizon 2020, to create a social enterprise, which will be in charge of managing this social enterprise. It was very short description, but I want just to spend a few words on the conclusions. And according to this experience, which is still ongoing, so it's a bit soon maybe to make to draw some conclusions. But what I can say is that it's very possible and it's very also effective to create synergies between the public authorities and the private actors, and to create a community-based and integrated project where all the components of well-being are brought together: the social, the environmental, the economic well-being. And at the center of this idea, there is always the community. So the well-being is also for bring the possibility to work to those who don't have this, let's say they are more people who are in need, like refugees in this case, but also other categories of people. And also the role of the municipality can be that of supporting and guiding this process through a co-design methodology. We have been working for many years in this co-design permanent platform, where every month we meet with stakeholders, with citizens, with farmers. So we are doing like a permanent table for discussion and for collaboration. So I think this is a good opportunity for also for the future. We want to go on with this and make more economic activities that are sustainable also for the social well-being of the population. This is, I think that's it, and thank you for the the invitation. I'm here for any questions.
Thank you, Inti. Thank you for your presentation. I think it was very comprehensive, and again, it gave basic but crucial information. Then, based on this, we can build up the discussion. As mentioned by Marti, I remind, as Francesco was mentioning, Marti and Francesca will support in joining in managing the session. And I invite all the participants in using the chat to ask questions. At the end of the presentations, we'll be able to go through the answers. Thank you, Inti. Now we can pass to the third presenter, is Diana Nikolova. Diana, are you here? I don't see you. Okay.
Now, should I share my screen?
Yes, please share your screen. Diana Nikolova is an architecture, art, cultural heritage, and she's working in the Sofia plan. It's the multi-year master plan for the city of Sofia, and it's about defining a shared overall strategy for the city up until 2050. But I would leave the floor to Diana for more details. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you hear me well?
Yes, very well.
Okay.
Can you put the presentation mode?
Isn't it on presentation mode?
I don't see it in presentation mode.
Okay. Like this?
Yes, now it's fine.
Okay.
Thanks.
So today in this panel, I will show you our experience with an online map for plots suitable for urban agriculture, which we made combined with the efforts of many NGOs and people who are working in this sector voluntarily. So in Sofia, in Bulgaria, we have very strong agriculture traditions. However, in the big city, implementing of these practices seems a little bit challenging to perceive. However, there is very strong local community which is working for implementing the agriculture in the contemporary city. So we have the chance to work with them. And now in Sofia, there are few existing gardens. You can see it on the map with these apples. They are very different in the way they happen. Some of them are community gardens on public plots. Some of them are on private plots. There are social gardens and gardens in schools as well. This is one of the latest community gardens in Sofia. This group of people who are so active here in Sofia even made this manual for citizens and institutions as a way to promote their work. And the most valuable thing is that it is done by the people, for the people, and for the institutions as well, because we, the part from the institutions, are a little bit slower and more rigid to conceiving new ideas. So in our policies, local policies for Sofia municipality, we have already integrated urban agriculture in different ways. There are things connected with the municipal program, which should happen in some point, as well as part of this is part of our social policy, because we see the possibilities of urban agriculture to connect and to make the life of those neglected better. Also in the policies is written that ongoing research on the topic is needed, and there should be some local norms and procedures which should be adopted while this process is happening. So our particular experience on urban agriculture is that the group of urban agricultural culture people came to us with the need to identify suitable plots for which they could connect with the municipality and to talk about better conditions for lease or for some other things. So the first thing we did was a map which which evaluated all the plots in the municipality. However, this was a very large result, which was not very suitable to particular actions. So we modeled the map, and we decided to do it only on municipal plots. So the number came smaller. So this was a research from our site in Sofia Plan, which uses all the data we gathered to pick those plots that have the biggest chance to be suitable for urban agriculture, not to be shaded, to be free of buildings, not to have any conflict with surrounding buildings and so on. And from the selection we've made, volunteers went on site and verified all the results. So as a conclusion, we have 46 plots verified on site, which should suit all the needs of an urban agriculture enterprise. And this was very big success, and NGOs we are working with say that this was very useful for them. Still, we can see the plot with some initial info, which they can see the area, which municipality structure is the contact point, and so on. And our plans for the future, now I hope we could see some municipal gardens, because all the things that are existing now as the gardens in Sofia, I showed you, are private initiatives. I very much like to see initiatives that came from the municipality and to use this very vibrant thing for urban agriculture, which is happening in the past several years in Sofia. So maybe this is it, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Many thanks, Diana, as well. I think it was very, it did give an overview of how the city and how agriculture fits within the city. So it's an added value as well, different, a bit slightly different perspective compared to the others. I would invite now Tony Karge from Berlin. Tony, I saw you, yeah, you were there?
Yeah, hello.
Hi, while you share your screen, I can briefly introduce you. Tony Karge is a scientific employee at the Senate Department for Environment, Transport and Climate Protection within the city of Berlin. And yes, I see your presentation, so you can start. Thank you.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you for an invitation also, and was a little bit short noticed at the end. That's why I don't have the style of the slides, but I think you can still follow the presentation. So I will speak about the Berlin Community Garden program that we are at the moment developing, so it's not yet finished. Yeah, so maybe the frame of the whole project is that Berlin is, in Germany at least, the capital of the community gardens, of urban gardening, but not so much urban agriculture. So for the discussion, maybe we have to distinguish a little bit, like we have many social garden projects, and so the city government wanted to have a program for this topic, and I will speak about the experience with the program. So it's like a policy development and not so much about individual projects. Berlin is not only a city, it's also a federal state in Germany. So we have a very complex setting of actors. And I can tell you, there are too many actors in the field responsible for different topics. The institutional setting for this whole program was a little bit difficult, but at the same time, we also wanted to not only address administration, but also, of course, civil society and other stakeholders, researchers, and so on in the process. The goal for the community garden program, maybe that's very important to mention, is to support existing community gardens, because we have already so many. It depends on how you count it. It's about 200 urban gardening projects in Berlin. So supporting the existing, but also creating a path for new projects to develop in the city. We identified 4 different kind of sub-goals that are necessary. First, to determine the role of community gardens for the city. What is the benefit for the city, the various benefits for the city society. Then also the diversity that we have in the gardens in Berlin is very important. And one fear from the community gardens was also, when the city takes over this topic, that we kind of like want to make all gardens look the same. And that's why we also said it's very important to accept and to embrace the diversity that are existing in the projects. They're very like social oriented projects. There are some more focused on produce. So this is very important. Also the models, business models, how they run the gardens, it's very different between the gardens. And then the 2 last sub goals, they are maybe the most important, is to think about spatial potential that we have in the city, or that we don't have in the city. Berlin is kind of is growing a lot, and we usually have a problem of acquiring land for new projects. And then we also want to design specific measures how to support the garden. So it's like a starting point for future projects also. And this may be an overview over the process a little bit. What we had before was already political lobbying from the garden activists. Actually, that was the starting point for the whole community garden program. And then following with that, also political support from the Berlin Parliament and some other works, long-term strategies that already mentioned urban agriculture and urban gardening as a important aspect for green development or city development, but never really came to a point where it was effectively changing the city. So this is taking this part, and so we want to really change the city with that program. And what is kind of like what you see on the right side is we want to develop more permanent process of development of this project. So an integration of the topic of urban gardening and hopefully also urban agriculture at one point in the city policies, and to make it a very normal topic of city development. Very important for us was to, what I said before, was the acknowledgement of the diversity of the projects. That also means that we have very different typologies of gardening activities. And here you see, 12 categories that we identified in the city that already exist. And so we want to focus on building policies, specific policies around these typologies also. For example, it's very different to convince the local park managers in the districts of the city to let people create gardening projects in the public parks, what you see as the first category here. It's very different to tackle this problem than, for example, when you have housing estates on the right side here, like the owners of housing estates, to convince stakeholders there to let this happen. Because that's a general thing. There are many people already convinced that this is a very important topic for the city, but there are also many stakeholders who are not, and who are kind of like resistant or say, okay, that's like another workload coming on my job, so I'm not following this path so much. So the output of the program will be a co-productive result of different stakeholders. We'll finish hopefully next spring with this first step of the program, but also a motivation for stakeholders to continue their good work already, and to convince also new stakeholders to join this strategy. And we will have this action plan with specific measures, and then we have kind of like a list of tasks, long-term, short-term, what we want to do in the next 5 to 10 years for supporting more community gardens in Berlin. And so lessons learned, that's the last slide. From what we learned in the process until now, after almost now 1.5 years, the number of actors is very challenging in our city. We have 12 districts, we have the city government, we have different departments, they have different different opinions on the topic, and it's super challenging. And then the land is the really limiting factor in our city at the moment. The food system is not really a big topic. It's more the social aspects of people coming together and having social activities in the neighborhood that is stressed, but we have to address the food system more for food change, of course. And that this is only the first step of an integration of gardening into the public policies, because with like in spring we will not be finished, and we have to continue with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Very interesting as well. As I was saying, I think these pictures can really provide a visual presentation of the different initiatives within the cities, and very, very nice to see. Now I would briefly give the floor to Martí. We have prepared a Mentimeter for the specific session, and so that we gather your feedbacks on a specific element. It's already in the chat, so you can join link on the Mentimeter, and then the results of the Mentimeter will also be presented in the session and in the plenary. We will see the time that it will be available. The two questions, the first question is about how to measure the impacts of social, urban, and peri-urban agriculture. As far as we see, and as we've seen in these presentations, the type of social urban agriculture initiatives differ quite a lot. And the point is to see whether we manage to get an overview of what is the final impact. Basically, so far there are already quite a number of these initiatives, and as much as the EBRD was saying, the point was to catch also what is the impact, what are the main elements to be considered, depending also on the funding institutions in that sense. I see that some of the feedbacks are coming up. Martí, if you want to add something, just feel free.
Yes, thanks, Antonella. So you have the link to the Mentimeter in the chat. So you will see that once you open the link, you will see the question that Antonella was just mentioning. And once you answer it, it's a multiple choice question. So feel free to select the answers that fit you more. The browser will ask you to wait for the responses for everyone, and then we'll move to the next question, which is the second and the last. So right now we can see the current predominance of measuring impacts of social, urban and peri-urban agriculture initiatives through the number of social activities. That could be like events, workshops, trainings that we have in this kind of initiatives. And this like predominance, it seems that is increasing, but we also have some importance related to the number of participants that we have in these events and workshops, and also the number of employees and volunteers, as some of the speakers were just saying, that the volunteering efforts that we have on these kind of initiatives, it's quite strong, so we can see a significance in there. And we can see also that the answers related to like the fruit and vegetable purchases, that would be more like economic driven maybe, and the food shopping trips, that would be more or less the same driver, has less impact, I'd say. So we will wait just 10 more seconds for additional answers to come in, and we'll move to the next question.
Yes, definitely. I see it's a rather peculiar way, and it's very nice to see these dots that they are feeding the different answers. And in the meantime, if other wants to add the questions in the chat, please, you can write the questions in the chat. Claudian, I see that you raise your hands. We will go through the questions in the chat coming from the participants right after the Mentimeter and the other two key cities that will contribute to the session.
So we can see that just to go over the question from Claudian, which I think is related to the Mentimeter itself. Claudian says that sometimes the food production is not sealed. So I guess the options here is to be like consumed by the people who actually grows it, or distributed to maybe local restaurants, local social restaurants. So this could be missing also from the first question, so we'll take into account that for when we analyze the answers. We'll move quickly to the next question.
Yes.
We have already some answers to this question. We'll wait a few seconds to analyze the results.
I don't know if Francesca wants to have a quick comment on the question and on these preliminary answers.
Yeah, I think there are some interesting points already. Well, the agriculture, fishery and food production policies, that was quite obvious it would come up, and as well the environment and landscape protection. But I see that also the education policies that are quite high, which is really good. And it's probably because we are in the social urban agriculture, but it's still very interesting that it's so high, as well with health and nutrition policies, which is the highest at the moment. So that's really interesting. And yeah, it's staying the same more or less.
Yes, Francesca, I would say the same. And it is also true that it's definitely multidimensional. There is a social urban agriculture, as we've seen in the 4 presentations. And again, there are some key aspects, key themes that our participants treasure within a social urban agriculture initiative. So I think it's pretty much confirmed. Then we, as I was saying, we will have the chance of giving comments and providing feedbacks on the full answers to the Mentimeter within the plenary, so that we can share those with the others. So thank you, Francesca and Martí. Now I would I would start with the presentations from Hasan Solak, Silivri Municipality. And then we will have Mustafa Gidezar. I see Mustafa, but
hello.
Okay, hi.
Hello, Antonella and everybody. It's very nice to be a part of this great activity. Thank you for inviting us. And you will see my name duplicated because we use the same link to take part in the event. So our colleagues from Silivri district, which is a part of Istanbul province, but a semi-rural part on the western part. And I represent the Kocaeli Governorate. Kocaeli is another province, this time on the east border of Istanbul. I don't know if any one of you, some of you have been to Turkey or Istanbul. It's a very big metropolitan city, living almost 15 million people. And in this region, the Marmara region, we call it in Turkish, the Marmara region is is the most developed and most crowded part of the country in population, in industry, and many other things. First of all, I'm really sorry that I did not prepare a presentation because I didn't know that we will have some opportunities to present. So I will just talk about a little bit about the challenges of social, urban, and peri-urban activities in our country on behalf of our city and also the Silivri province of Istanbul. So the first and very big challenge is the legal recognition of urban agriculture activities. I mean, the Turkish law hasn't recognized the urban farmer as a new job yet. So it's very difficult for entrepreneurs or urban gardeners or farmers to be recognized as professionals. So the legal framework, one of the questions was in the Mentimeter was about the legal framework is developed in Turkey, in your country. It's needed. Yes, it hasn't been developed yet in accordance with this innovative aspect, urban and peri-urban agriculture, but it is needed. But of course, there are some initiatives from local based. For example, 2 weeks ago in Kocaeli province here, the metropolitan municipality held a local forum on agriculture with a number of maybe 300 participants in general. And there were 9 different tables to discuss the different aspects of agriculture. And one of the tables were dedicated to innovative agri-food and urban or indoor farming applications. I attended that table to discuss about the existing situation and future perspective of the sector in Turkey. So I was very happy to see that many different stakeholders, including academics, researchers, public, local institutions and policymakers as well. And individual entrepreneurs are very interested in the subject. So I believe that in near future, there will be new legal regulations regarding the urban and peri-urban agriculture in Turkey. So another example in Turkey that has been tried for several years were about community gardens or hobby gardens for the citizens of crowded cities like our city, like Istanbul and Kocaeli. But this time, the challenge was the costs and the sustainability of these community gardens. Because, you know, people are very eager, very energetic to start something, some initiative, but as time passes, the motivation becomes lower and lower. And so these kind of activities were not sustainable in several municipalities, several cities. But the final aspect I would like to mention about the Turkish point of view on the urban agriculture or urban gardening, it has been a tradition for Turkish people to grow their own food in rural parts especially, or semi-rural parts. And there was a tradition that the community help each other without exchanging money. For example, I have a garden, I have a field, and you work for me for one day and I work for your garden for the other day, without exchanging money, just exchanging the collaborative workforce. So I think this tradition can be renovated through these innovative activities, and we are going to work on this policy. And now, final words for my colleagues from Silivri. I don't know if they want to speak about their activities, because they established a good example in Turkey, in Istanbul. And I now want to give the floor to them.
Yes, as we were saying, if there are other initiatives that want to share their experience, thank you very much.
I think they will need some translation, right?
Evet. Bugün çalıştaya katılım sağladığımız ve sizlerle paylaşmak istediğimiz projeleri sunmak istiyorum. Önemli olan atalık tohumlardan doğal pazara olan ürünlerle ilgili çalışmalarımız var. Tarımsal üretim ve çiftçi destekleme projelerimiz.
Sevme, cümle gidersek çeviri için daha doğru olur aslında.
Tamam.
Sorry.
Atalık tohumlardan doğal pazara.
Okay. Hi everyone, I'm so glad to hear you. Projects which we participate in workshops today, we would like to share with you, from ancestral seeds to national markets, agriculture production and farmer support projects.
Sağlığa açılan tarım kapısı, tarım akademisi projelerimiz ve festivaller ve tarımla ilgili çalışmalarımız öncelikli olarak yürütmekteyiz.
Agricultural Gateway House, Agricultural Academy and Festivals and Agriculture.
Biz Silivri Belediyesi olarak üretken belediyecilik anlayışımız ile vatandaşlarımızı üretime teşvik ve örnek teşkil eden, birlik beraberliğimizi güçlendiren, hizmette kalite, etkinlik ve sürdürülebilirliği sağlayan bir yerel yönetim modeli uygulamaktayız.
Okay, we as Silivri municipality implement a local government model that provides encouraging our citizens produce with our understanding of productive municipality, exemplary, strengthening our unity and solidarity, quality, efficiency and sustainability in service.
Hedefimiz, yerel yönetimlerin etkin gücünü en etkin biçimde kullanarak Silivri'yi çağdaş, yaşanabilir, sürdürülebilir bir marka kent ve bir tarım kent vizyonuna ulaştırmaktır.
Our aim is to Silivri a modern, reliable city by using the effective power of local governments in the most productive way and sustainable brand city and agricultural city vision.
Sorry, can I, sorry to intervene. The sound is very, not very clear. even the translation itself. So can I ask?
Okay, I will try to fix it.
Yes.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we need a translation clear.
Okay.
Olur.
Benim sesim daha iyi duyuluyor. Tamam. Okay, our aim is to make Syria a modern, reliable city by using the effective power of local governments in the most productive way and sustainable branching and agricultural division. With our holistic approach, we are whole with our people and meet their needs by closely following them. We continue our activities as a service unit.
Hedefimiz yerel yönetimlerin etkin gücünü en üretken biçimde kullanarak Silivri'yi çağdaş, yaşanabilir ve sürdürülebilir bir marka kent, bir tarım kent vizyonuna ulaştırmaktır.
To beautify the environment we live in, to be liable for the future generations, and to preserve and keep the Task culture alive, living a city that produces is one of our main goals.
Bütüncül yaklaşımımız ile halkımızla bütün olan ve ihtiyaçlarını yakından takip ederek karşılayan hizmet birimi olarak faaliyetlerimizi sürdürmekteyiz.
We give direction by operating in various fields of agriculture with this understanding we adopt, and the agriculture with its understanding we adopt, and the agricultural policies we follow, constantly producing, sharing what it produces, enriching its local values with festivals, to our agricultural projects with a focus on education and production, providing services for the needs of the farmers.
Yaşadığımız çevreyi güzelleştirmek, gelecek nesillere yaşanabilir, geçmiş kültürünü koruyan, yaşatan ve üreten bir kent bırakmak en temel görevlerimizden biridir.
Sorry, can I intervene? Thank you for the contribution. Since we have 5 minutes left for the whole session, and there were questions specifically related to the overall picture of different initiatives, what I suggest is to raise the questions, and possibly, as if you have feedbacks on those questions, more than welcome to join and open the discussion to other initiatives. It would be nice to have the opportunity of opening to other feedbacks from the overall cities and also the participants. So the questions which were raised were related to whether we have local and regional processing and distribution centers. So in my understanding of the question, somehow the point was to have a kind of network within local level that goes from the production down to the processing, the distribution, and then the consumption. So if there is any question, feedback, from the cities and the participants on this, that would be nice. The other question was about the replication. So to what extent you believe that some of the initiatives that were presented are actually replicable in other countries. And the third question was related to the Chicago. Richard was saying some of these projects are strongly related to public health issues. So would it be possible from some of the initiatives to address one or more than one of these key points? If Christine wants to start, as she was the first presenter, and then but feel free to raise your hands whenever you think appropriate.
So as I replied to the question of Richard in London, processing at an industrial level is quite difficult to organize. The chains are organized differently now. So we have a bit of processing, but at a very small scale level, which cannot answer the demand of the whole metropolitan area. And as for distribution, we have some producers who are producing organically, who are already organized and are able to feed some of the collective catering. So this is, but because they have, it's in their ways of working already. So it's part of their commitment to grow organically. It's also to sell more locally. And as for the delivery, there are talks, discussions, and already some online platforms where farmers can get together to deliver locally and to get organized together, but also the industrial level is not reached. So all those different parts of the chain are sometimes have an answer already, but only for a small quantity of food and of products. So we are not able yet to organize a whole local chain. It's not done yet.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Christine. Somebody else wants to add some elements to discussion related to the questions? Yeah, Diana?
I'm very glad that these pandemic times, along with all the struggles, I think they made us look more with more appreciation to the time spent outside. So as Inti showed in his presentation earlier, here we have this a thing that during the pandemic seasons, the people who are willing to go outside and do urban agriculture are more and more. So I think this is just one detail on top of the benefits of urban agriculture.
And I just add one thing, Diana, adding on this, do you think that the way consumers were also approaching urban agriculture changed?
I think this is a little bit slower. However, people getting a little bit closed. They started to look more carefully on their health, on their way of living, doing things that they haven't been thinking of in the past years. And this thing with the consumerism, I think it's a little bit going through change. So I hope in the terms of food and agriculture, it will bring this change as well.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Diana. I don't know if Berlin or Bologna wants to add something.
Yeah, maybe just one comment to the last thing. We also saw a very big change in the or how gardening in the city is discussed. It was, I think, people couldn't travel, so they went to the green spaces around and they saw the gardens, and the waiting lists for allotment gardens grew and so on. But I'm a little bit afraid that once people get back to their busy lifestyles, then also like the passion for creating your own food will decrease again. So I'm a little bit like, okay, at the moment we see it, but maybe it's also something that will change again a bit.
Okay, yeah, that's a good insight for the future and future scenarios in urban agriculture. Inti, do you want to add something to some of these elements?
Just a figure. I checked last day, and the request of allotments grew by 70% in 2020 and 60% in 2021. So there is a trend. People are more interested in producing their own food. This is something real that we are observing. And also not only traditional allotments, but also community gardens are growing. At least the request from the community is increasing a lot.
Yeah, thank you. Definitely, that's another perspective to be mind for the future, for the planning of the future, for the master plans of the future. I also see Francesco is here in the session now. I don't know if it's because
No, not. I don't want to stop the flow of exchange. I'm just jumping around sessions, so please move ahead, and
because the time of the session should be over by now, but as you were mentioning, we can keep on having our dialogue for the ones that wants to stay and share their experience. And then, as far as I know, Francesco, then we will be
you will be called back to the main room at just before 12. So you still have some time. You can decide whether to continue or take a coffee break.
Yeah. I think one of the key elements which were raised by Mustafa Ginezar was the issue of the legal recognition, which is not to be really underestimated, which was not fully, let's say, captured in the key presentations, but in some countries in particular, and for some initiatives, that could be a distinctive element at different levels within an urban agriculture experience, from the production, which is probably what was mentioned by Ginezar, but in the end also for the consumer, because if we manage to provide a more of a sustainable local dimension of the production, processing, and consumption, then we provide a more comprehensive and distinctive character to urban agriculture. I don't know if this is an issue in other countries, or if somebody else. I see that Diana is confirming this. Especially, well, just briefly, I was in other events, in other meetings about urban agriculture, and some of the points that they were making, which is affected also by, also what Tony was mentioning regarding the need of land, the quantity of land available for urban agriculture. And it's the capability of urban agriculture initiatives to access specific funding for urban agriculture. And to do this, there might be a need or an legal recognition of what is urban agriculture. I don't know if anybody, Diana, want to add something?
We here have this problem because legally it's not the authorities, the municipality needs some written thing that allows them to allow other people to do this. Otherwise, it's not illegal to have urban gardening. However, for the municipality, I see that this is a little bit hard if it's not written down that this is okay, that this and this will happen here and here. And for the production, for example, in the schools and kindergartens, the kids can grow their food, but they cannot eat it because all the regulations connected with the food. So there is need to think on this topic.
Yeah, I guess the issue within the schools and education also, it's linked to the food safety issue of the food. This is the same issue that we may have here. And also by the fact that some of these public procurement in general are often driven mainly by economic concepts and drivers and criteria. So that's clearly it's not a comprehensive, easily fitted initiative within urban agriculture. Yeah, I don't know if there's any other question coming.
If I may raise a complementary issue, Antonella, there was this problem that we were mentioning just right now about the availability of a space in the city, and I wanted to know if some of the cities that we have here know how to deal of this competition that we may have with other potential uses, for example, in roofs, because there is this legal barrier to like for example, to sell products that we have, for example, also in Barcelona. So I see that this problem is quite uniform in the geographical spread that we have in this meeting. So I wanted to know from the cities how they deal, for example, with the competition between food production and energy usage, like photovoltaic panels, for example, or rainwater harvesting systems, so the different uses that we may have in a roof. If anyone wants to contribute to this discussion.
I can maybe give a bit of an answer. What we are trying to do is to put everyone in the loop when there are specific projects being developed, so that all the different departments of our administration are aware of what are the plans, and we are able to discuss and take decisions based on a global overview of the different projects that are going on the whole metropolitan area, so that we don't have to decide over just one project, but it's a larger strategy where we decide, okay, there we will put some on the rooftop, some garden, but over there we decide to put some photovoltaic grids, or like, so so that the political decision makers can decide over their more global strategy.
Yeah, maybe I can add also that we have this competition, especially on rooftops also. The energy department made a program of like there's a duty for installing renewable energy, like solar energy on the roofs. At the same time, or a little bit earlier than our department, started a funding program for rooftop gardens. So there are these competing programs now. And of course, now they are discussing of combining both. It's possible, obviously, to combine both, but there is a competition. And what we do not on the rooftop, on the ground floor, is with the community garden program, for example, we try to have kind of like a multi-coding, we call it. Like we say that there can be different codes of land, of course, in one area. For example, school gardens, it's a perfect example. School gardens are they are existing already, but they can also open up to the neighborhood. So it can be also a neighborhood garden at the same time, because schools usually work during the day and not on the weekend. And these neighborhood gardens are more open like after work and on the weekend, and then summer break. They're very happy that people are there caring and so on. So this kind of approach of not, because we don't have the land, we just use it in multiple ways. That's our approach, but it will not be so efficient for real produce, of course.
Thank you, Tony. If I can say just a last line of, as an overview, I think the key question at the beginning of the seminar, of the overall workshop, is to what extent urban agriculture fits within a commercial dimension. And I think the experiences that we pointed out, that the presenter has presented, show that there is a link. There is a way to link it. Probably one of the best ways to understand on how to do it is also to diversify the different business models. There might be many different ways of doing it depending on the different context, and having co-design activities together with the community to really fully understand how to go forward with it. That's a very important element. And the other thing is, probably whenever we talk about urban agriculture, somehow, even though we do not specify it in words, but in our minds, it is something which is local, and it stays local, it starts local, and it's processed locally, and then it's eaten locally. So as far as I see, clearly there was a specific attention on social issues, which then turns into a specific identity. But it is also true that we always have in mind these short chains, I would say, or this kilometer zero. Probably it's mostly related to fresh fruit and vegetables again, because those are the key chains and type of products that we produce. Also because, which is an interesting point made, is the issue of the processing. How to process the food that is produced locally, because that would be another step within the agri-food chain, which again could be could have some elements of challenge within some of the initiatives that we have seen. But yes, this focus on the economic sustainability of social opportunities is definitely feasible. I had a message. I think we get shifted to the main session. So I would like to thank all of you for participating in the social, urban, and peri-urban agriculture session.